It's 600 grams of Benadryl. Nah, but for real, the antidote to burnout. This is in the context of making games. You have to, like, care about what you're doing. Let me explain. I just got done with a big playtest for my game, Asterisk. There were 9 concurrent players. Voice chat?
Who are
Waiting.
you?
I just added the ability for multiple suns to exist. And so for those of you who know about the 3 body problem or know yesterday's videos, things got very chaotic very quickly. Yo. Do you guys
I'm
want...
on a scout! This is for the scout!
No. Do you want the merch block? Do you want the merch block? I have the merch block. Chill. For some context, in this game, in order to unlock new types of boxes to place, the scanner needs to, the scanner box in the game needs to see it for a little bit, and then you've unlocked that box. And because I had already found the space station that had the merging block on it, I offered to throw it out into space so that their scanner could pick it up and they would unlock it. Bam, go.
Thank you.
Out of it. Stuff like that is really cool. I think that there were just a lot of bugs in this version, and like the tuning was really bad. I'll get to that in a second. But that just was so beautiful. That is the antidote to burnout. So you're a person in the world and you're trying to do stuff. And supposedly you're trying to do that stuff for some outcome. Like you want something out of it, right? So the question is, when you look at your life and everything that you're doing, what is the stuff that you're doing? And is it resulting in an outcome that you actually like? Now let me be more practical. I've tried to make this game Asterisk like over and over again for like 5 years. I've always like wanted to make a space game that had these kind of vague feelings of like discovery and excitement and engineering and ingenuity and like social fucking around. Like this is like, I've always been really attracted to these principles in games. But I every single time I tried to make this game, I just didn't understand enough about game design or development for the product to be very good. Or I just made like a little piece of Asterisk. Let's go through some of my older games again. Like I made this like game like over, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And it's literally just an infinite procedural world. I was imagining this being like a star game, a lot like what Asterisk is right now. Here's a game I made called Snake 475. It's like a snake game where you're moving around, shift to boost, space to fire cannons. I made like so much plot for this game, you don't even understand. I made like whole like lore documents. Yeah, and you're supposed to move around these mines. We're gonna get some Snake 475 gameplay in. Oh yeah, the grid drawing is broken in the corner. I don't know if you can see that, or the edges. These turrets. I think that you're supposed to cannon these. What? It is kind of fun. But it's just not that interesting. That game may not look a lot like Asterisk, but I wanted it to do all of these things, right? The game was my stuff. The game was the stuff I was doing for this outcome, these outcomes to happen, from the game, right? Now, in all these projects, I worked on them for 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, I would just feel so meh about them. I just didn't really care, I just stopped caring on projects all the time and then move on to something new. Now, I don't think that's because I was working too much, because in a lot of these cases, I wasn't even working that much. 3 hours a day maybe, and not on the weekends. Maybe more 6 or 7 hours a day. But the problem was that the outcome wasn't happening, right? I could show you 10 other prototypes to iterate my point. I made 10 games like that where it looks weird, and you're like, what is that? It looks kind of like some kind of sci-fi game. And then it's all kind of not that good to play. Yeah, I just made that mistake a lot. Back to this stuff, right? If you imagine a kid playing with blocks, right? And every time he pushed a block, nothing happened, his hand just phased through the block. The stuff he was doing didn't match the outcome that he wanted. And this happened repeatedly, right? He would probably give up. I mean, first he would be really curious and confused. But then once he understood that he can't interact with those blocks, he would get bored of him, right? He doesn't have a model that that matches reality that he can interact in, right? Burnout happens when the stuff that you're doing doesn't have the outcome that you really want. And so the antidote is to evaluate, right? What stuff am I doing that isn't having the outcome that I want and why? And how can I change it so that the stuff I really want actually happens? I think this should be applicable in every circumstance. After today's playtest, I've got pages and pages of notes of stuff to do for the next playtest. Before the Patreon release, so much tuning, so much stuff just to make it better, Try to up the quality to a new level. Here's an early adopter curve. For those of you who don't know what this is a curve that shows the timeline of a product's adoption, right? So you can imagine that this is the release of something like a phone, right? And then at first it's the quote unquote innovators, right? And then it's the early adopters, and then the early majority, late majority, and then the laggards, right? Every like new thing, like the current new thing, adopts this timeline, right? At first, it's a very, very small amount of people who are willing to do something that almost nobody else is doing. Then comes the next chunk of people. Finally, this is where you see like millions of hits, a lot of things. And then, this is like 10 years later, they're talking about it in some blog. This is where Asterisk is right now. And not just that, but it's also behind in development. With this like big list of stuff, I'm going to work really hard. I want it to get to like here, right? Or maybe even here. And then like along the development of the Patreon, we'll scoot it up to all the early adopters, right? And then I want to stay here until the rest of the content is made, and then we'll have the Steam release where we get this. That's the idea. And I bring up Burnout because in old projects, when I would see a big list of stuff like this to do, I would be like, man, I don't want to do that. That's like too annoying and stupid. But this game like actually does what I wanted it to do. Like, for the most part, it's exactly what I thought it would be. For the first time, the stuff I'm doing matches the outcome I wanted from it. Not really the first time, but this is the only time where it's happened so consistently with a bigger project that lasts like months. Some stuff that it's not doing right now is Discovery and Wonder. However, I know exactly what would add that into the game, and I know exactly how to do it, and it would be awesome. Like, just because I'm not doing this stuff, or the outcome isn't there yet, doesn't mean I don't have a confident like model, and that's why there's no burnout. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Like and subscribe if you want more of this. Click the link in the description to play the game for free now. If you like this, there's 40 other videos. Big playtest. Sorry, series of videos you can binge watch. Just go to my channel and go to the playlist of the game.